Okay, so I'm just going to get started here. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for attending HVRC's Comprehensive Planning webinar. My name is Liz Sun. I'm a Clean Energy Communities Coordinator at the Hudson Valley Regional Council. I work with most of the municipalities in Dutchess, Putnam, and Westchester counties. I'm joined on this webinar by my colleague, Mina Viswanathan, who is also a CEC coordinator for most of the municipalities in Rockland, Orange, and Ulster County. We also have a few other HVRC team members on to help facilitate Q&A later on in the session. Next slide. So before we begin, I want to give an overview of what will be covered. First, Mina and I will be presenting on the CSC Action Comprehensive Plan with sustainability elements and how communities can apply for points as a part of their CSC certification application. Next, we will have Eva Hoskins, Clean Energy Advisor at Climate Action Associates, go over the NYSERDA Clean Energy Comprehensive Plan Guide, which can be a helpful resource for determining how to incorporate clean energy development into the plan. Her presentation will be followed by several speakers representing municipalities who recently completed a comprehensive plan and receive points under the CEC Comprehensive Plan Action. We are joined by Judy Mezzi, Deputy Commissioner of Planning from the City of White Plains, Alice Green, Climate Smart Task Force Chair for the Town of Dryden, Amanda Mazzoni, Energy Program Manager with Central New York Regional Planning and Development Board, who supported the Town of Dryden on their plan, and Marcy Danker, Sustainability Coordinator for the Village of Nyack. Attendees will then have the opportunity to ask questions in breakout sections at the end. But feel free to put questions in the chat throughout the presentation. We will be keeping track of them for the Q&A. Next slide. So first, a bit about the Hudson Valley Regional Council. We are one of 10 regional planning organizations in the state of New York and serve the 7 counties of the Mid-Hudson region. We help municipalities access and understand information and grants from the state and federal level and provide technical assistance on environmental sustainability programs, economic development, materials management, and water resources. Our programmatic areas are funded by NYSERDA, the DEC, the Hudson River Estuary Program, the EDA, and EPA. Feel free to reach out to us on any of these areas, and this work would not be possible without the support of our county government members. So thank you to our governments. I'm going to start off by talking about briefly the NYSERDA Clean Energy Communities Program. So since 2016, the CEC program offered no match and often no contract grants to municipalities for clean energy projects. Over the course of the funding periods, more than $23 million have been awarded to this region. Unfortunately, the CEC program is currently not accepting high impact action submissions and has paused new participation. However, we thought this would be a good opportunity to look back at the amazing work that this region has done through the years. So I want to mention a new webpage that we put together called CEC Over the Years. It goes over the impacts of the CEC program and highlights some of the projects that were completed through CEC grant funds. A link to the webpage is on this slide, and we'll be sharing these slides after the presentation, so please take a look at all the fantastic work that has been happening in our region. Another state-run program that focuses on sustainability, and the one that this action is applicable to, is the DEC Climate Smart Communities Program. CSC is supported by 7 state agencies to help municipalities take action to fight climate change. The program focuses on both reducing greenhouse gas pollution or climate mitigation and building resiliency in the face of climate change, which is also climate adaptation. So the Comprehensive Plan Action is one of the 100 plus actions under the CSC program. This is a priority action. It can earn you between 3 to 21 points. To receive credit for this action, you must complete all 5 required elements and at least 1 optional element. Each optional element earns you 3 points. There are 7 optional elements as listed on the slide, and completing them, all of them would award you with 21 points. In our presentation, we're going to go over the 5 required elements and 2 optional. So the first one I'm going to talk about is support alternative modes of transportation. It's a required element that focuses on goals and actions that promote the use of alternative transportation. So this could look like walking for pedestrians, bicycles, public transportation, and electric vehicles. This could look like upgrading existing roads to include bike bike lanes and sidewalks, increasing the amount of public buses and the number of stops, and maybe dedicated parking for EVs. You could also include planning to adopt a complete streets policy. So a complete street is a roadway planned and designed to consider the safe and convenient access and mobility of all roadway users of all ages and abilities. Having a policy in place ensures that future planning of streets and roadways will consider the many design features that can make traveling in your community more safe and convenient. To receive credit for this action, for the entire action, a municipality must submit a memorandum explaining how the plan reflects the sustainability elements. They must provide details on all the required and optional sustainability elements for which the points are being requested and include specific page numbers where the relevant information can be found. So this is an example from the town of Northeast in Dutchess County. They receive credit for supporting alternative modes of transportation by surveying and creating new bike networks on public roads, promoting ride sharing in the Dutchess County public transit system, and planning for EV charging. So this slide includes a screenshot of the memo that they had submitted. And in the memo, you can see that they included specific portions of the plan and page numbers that supported alternative transportation. I'm going to pass it off to Mina now.
Thanks, Liz. So I'll go over this promote smart growth principles and land use policies element. So this element is centered around the smart growth principles that I have linked to on the slide. It is essentially a set of 10 principles that promote mixed building types and uses, diverse housing and transportation options, development within existing neighborhoods, and community engagement. So within the comprehensive plan, this could look like creating walkable neighborhoods, promoting mixed land use in zoning laws and codes. And the sustainability aspects within this element can come from creating zoning laws and guidance for new development, keeping the availability of natural resources in mind, and ensuring that sensitive natural features and open spaces are preserved. So the example that we have for this element is the village of Bronxville in Westchester County. They got credit for this element because they incorporated all 10 smart growth principles into their comprehensive plan. Their memo, I've put a screenshot of that on the slide, breaks down each of the 10 smart growth principles and how it is addressed in the comprehensive plan. So you can see that they've encouraged mixed land use through their zoning ordinance. They've also improved walkability of their village by adding lighting, undertaking sidewalk improvements, and adding wayfinding signage. They incorporated tree preservation within the village code. So these are all the different ways in which they've incorporated smart growth principles into their comprehensive plan, and they got credit for this element. You don't have to show the inclusion of all 10 of the principles, but it is a great framework for you to refer to and a reference point.
Okay, so the next required element is conserve natural areas. And this requires that the plan include goals and recommendations geared towards maintaining and enhancing natural spaces and wildlife. Every community is a part of a larger landscape, and it's important to recognize those existing features and the benefits they provide. Once those natural areas have been identified, a comprehensive plan can be used to plan out how a community can accomplish natural resource protection goals and objectives. So, for example, this could look like minimizing new development on or near natural areas. You could also designate open space areas, so pieces of land or water that are underdeveloped and should be free of residential, commercial, and industrial uses. The village of Woodbury in Orange County received credit for planning future purchases of open space parcels and creating an open space trust, so putting funding towards purchasing of more parcels, designing new development to protect natural areas, and developing an open space and natural resource protection plan. As you can see in their memo, this element is weaved into multiple sections of their plan, so it highlights the importance of conserving the natural environment and how it's connected to many pieces of community growth.
Sorry. So the next element that we will be talking about is promoting healthy and safe community. This element is not as specific as some of the other ones that Liz and I have just discussed. It's a bit more wide-ranging. So for this element, you would have to demonstrate that your comprehensive plan weaves health and safety into its vision, and that health and safety is incorporated into some of the specific initiatives. This could look like, planning for health and safety of at-risk or disadvantaged populations, focusing on air quality and water quality, traffic and road safety, or incorporating it throughout the planning phase by identifying community-specific health and safety challenges and addressing those challenges within the plan. So the town of Orangetown in Rockland County highlights that they've incorporated health and safety into their whole plan. So specifically, they receive credit for tangible initiatives that they incorporated within their comprehensive plan, such as promoting uses for parks that are accessible and have additional cooling features, and for illustrating that their carbon emissions reduction measures have additional benefits of improving air quality. The last required element is the foster equity element. Like the health and safety element that I've just spoke about, this is also something that needs to be incorporated throughout the comprehensive plan into its vision, as well as certain specific initiatives. You could start off right from the planning phase by identifying community-specific equity challenges and addressing those challenges within specific initiatives. This could look like incorporating equity into housing strategies or transportation strategies, or incorporating equity within zoning ordinances. So the town of Saugerties in Ulster County received credit for this element as they incorporated equity into their vision for the comprehensive plan, which was to enhance the town as a center for diversity and inclusion. And as you can see in the screenshot of their memo, they received credit for incorporating equity into specific initiatives, such as providing adult and continuing programs through schools, affordable housing, and there's a few more examples of this in the screenshot. I will now pass it along to Liz to talk about the two optional elements that we will be discussing in our presentation today.
Thanks, Mina. So one of the optional elements that you can get credit for is decreasing fossil fuel use and support renewable energy. This could look like adopting or promoting clean energy technologies. So the example I chose was the town of Newcastle in Westchester County. In their plan, they identified potential sites for future solar panels and microgrids, and improving uptake of renewable energy on properties owned by schools, businesses, and homeowners. A community can also include goals and recommendations to support funding opportunities that make clean energy technology more accessible. So Newcastle mentions in their memo that they plan to create an inventory of energy efficiency funding opportunities and work with the EIC to create a public and business education campaign for Energize New York benefit financing program. I want to highlight a particular component of Newcastle's comprehensive plan that I thought was really interesting and something that should definitely be replicated. So one key element that should be a part of a plan is an implementation section. Plans that don't have actionable items tend to just sit on the shelf. A comprehensive plan should have specific actions to make achieving those goals and overall vision a reality. So the town of Newcastle actually put together a webpage for the comprehensive plan, and the page has a section for active projects and that are outlined in the plan with current progression levels on each action. So you can see, like in the center, those progress reports. So for decreasing fossil fuel use and supporting renewable energy, they're 25% of the way on updating their climate action plan. They're 50% of the way with establishing new government operation emission reduction targets, and they're 50% of the way to completing integrating new energy efficiency projects in their town's capital improvement plan.
All right. And the last element that we will be discussing today is the promotion of climate adaptation. So this could be in the form of incorporating the local government's climate adaptation plan or climate action plan within the comprehensive plan. This is something that Alice and Amanda will be speaking about in much greater detail in their presentations later. You could also incorporate challenges identified in a climate vulnerability assessment and detail strategies to address some of those vulnerabilities within your comprehensive plan to get credit under this element. Some of these strategies could be something like disseminating emergency information in different languages to ensure all communities can access this information, retrofitting buildings to be more climate resilient, installing backup power in emergency shelters and critical infrastructure, and so on. So the example here is of Village of Haverstraw from Rockland County. They got the full 21 points for their comprehensive plan and received full credit for this element by incorporating their climate adaptation plan and climate action plan into their comprehensive plan. And some of the strategies that they incorporated and got credit for were the ones that I just spoke about. So we have links to some of the resources that we found very useful while creating this presentation. In particular, the New York State Division of Local Government Services webinar on comprehensive planning is very thorough and informational. It lays out the different steps in getting started with the planning process that I think would be very useful to any municipality that's looking to get started on comprehensive planning. The Mohawk Valley Economic Development District also put together a planning guide of the required and optional components needed to be included in a comprehensive plan to get credit under the CSE program. So this is also a really useful document that you can use. And lastly, the American Planning Association has standards, the Comprehensive Plan Standards for Sustaining Places, which is a resource that CSE program also recommends. So I want to end our presentation with our contact information. Like Liz said at the beginning of our presentation, we are the CEC coordinators for the Mid-Hudson region and can offer extensive support with the CEC and the CSE programs through free technical support as well as resources and toolkits that we offer. So please reach out to us. And this is the contact information of the larger HVRC team. And I will now pass it off to our first speaker, Eva, to talk about the NYSERDA Guidebook on Clean Energy in Comprehensive Plans.
Thank you, Mina. Hi, folks. Thank you for joining us today. So I'm here to talk about NYSERDA's guidebook called Clean Energy and Your Comprehensive Plan. So again, my name's Eva, and I'm a clean energy advisor. I work for Climate Action Associates. I'm a subcontractor to NYSERDA, the Clean Energy Communities Program. I'm here to help communities with planning and siting clean energy projects on the eastern side of New York State. So next slide, please. So really quick, before we get into everything, I just want to talk about clean energy in New York State. So the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act was signed into law in 2019. It demonstrates our commitment to fighting climate change, and it also serves as the backbone of our clean energy goals, including what you'll see: 70% renewable electricity by 2030, 100% emissions-free electricity by 2040. And so really what I want to tell you is that these goals are here and developments will be happening. So it's very important to be prepared by establishing local regulations. NYSERDA has these tools like this guidebook. There's also model zoning laws that they have, but a comprehensive plan is the start. So next slide, please. And just quickly, the processes for regulating and permitting clean energy will vary based on size and type. So for example, solar and wind projects under 25 megawatts will be permitted at the local level, while projects over 25 megawatts are permitted at the state level through the Office of Renewable Energy Siting, or ORES. Energy storage is a little different. So projects that are paired with large-scale renewable energy, such as solar, so like storage, solar plus storage, that's permitted at the state level, while a standalone project would be permitted at the local level. Next slide. So my presentation here will be to give you a high-level overview of what you'll find in the guidebook. It will not be an in-depth training, rather just like an introduction to the guide. So this was created to help New York State municipalities develop and adopt clean energy policies for their comprehensive plans. And the plan steers the municipality's physical and economic development and accommodates its social, environmental, and regional concerns. And they often and more frequently lately incorporate environmental and sustainability strategies, which includes, of course, clean energy development. So here are the chapters, and we'll just do a quick walkthrough of what you can find in each of these sections. So next slide, please, Mina. Okay, so why plan for it? So comp plans are intended to be comprehensive. So clean energy and sustainability are, of course, increasingly important for New York State communities. And it's really important to reflect that in your comprehensive plan. Very helpful to have a representation of your jurisdiction's priorities and policies for clean energy. And just as a side note, it's also important to define clean energy. As you'll see in this little block to the side, we're not only talking like solar and wind, but this, in these plans, this can also encompass efficiency efforts, installing a heat pump at home, EV charging stations, etc. Next slide, please. So the what, the why, the how, we want to develop a shared vision for the future. So New York State's zoning and planning enabling acts require land use regulations to be in accordance with the comprehensive plan. Thus, it's important to begin any of our clean energy actions here with a comp plan. Next slide, please. It also plays a role in the permitting process for large-scale renewables. So you'll see that in the permitting process through Article 10 in ORES, it says that facilities must be consistent with such comprehensive plan, and a copy of plan shall be provided in the application. So even though I mentioned earlier that some of those projects would be permitted by the state, it's still important to adopt local laws and local regs to which they'll be considered by ORES as well. And NYSERDA has model zoning laws for clean energy, which you can tailor to fit to the needs of your community. Next slide, please. So we'll start by, determining where you're starting from. So the guide helps you decide, do you have a comp plan? How old is it? Do you require to conduct a periodic review of it? And so clean energy can be incorporated throughout the plan or as a standalone component, which you can tie to related issues throughout the document. This will help you kind of choose which way you want to go with the structure of that. So next slide, please. So Chapter 3 of the guidebook describes policy process and education. So it discusses how to adopt a policy resolution or statement, which will assert the overall goals and kind of state your intention to consider clean energy development in your future plans and regulations. It will also help you with how to identify funding and resources to use, ways to find and apply for grant funding, for example, like the Climate Smart Communities tools that we just heard about, and gaining points towards your community. And then also it'll help with decisions around who's charged with developing the plan, whether it be local legislature, planning board, special committee, and it will also give you a lot of tools for how to determine existing information. So the ins and outs of gathering data and conducting studies to guide the planning effort, which, for example, at the bottom here, we'll see what we call a hosting capacity map. And this outlines utility infrastructure. So we're talking power lines, transmission lines, and how much room they essentially have for more electricity generation. And these are maps that you can find online and overlay with your town and, see where developments are even most likely to be happening within your community. So it's important to have this background knowledge throughout developing your plan. So next slide, please. So chapter 4 is entirely dedicated to strategies for public engagement and education. So of course, it's very important to garner community participation with a wide range of stakeholders and engagement methods, which this chapter will help, give ideas for. And one thing that I really like about this chapter in particular is that there is a whole little tidbit area that helps you ensure that you're inclusive of underrepresented and disadvantaged communities with this outreach. So that's pretty cool. Next slide, please. So chapter 5 gets into the bulk of creating the clean energy content for your plan. So, I won't be able to get into too much about this section further than a quick overview, but here on the screen are the main themes outlined for creating your content. There are model strategies listed here, tips for those implementation plans, which Mina and Liz were just talking about. And also examples of goals and accompanying objectives. They give you a lot of ideas here that you can pull from. So for example, here's a goal, very blanket goal, support the transition towards clean energy sources. It lists the objectives, A, B through E, streamline the project review and approval process so it's efficient, and support expansion through land use policies and facilitate these initiatives that support disadvantaged or underrepresented residents. And, also ensuring clean energy development protects and enhances your community character, and so on. So there's a really comprehensive list of comprehensive, no pun intended, of sample goals and objectives in this section. This is a very fruitful chapter. And next slide. So here are just some extra resources, some more comprehensive planning, literature from the Department of State. Here's some clean energy resources from various places, and you'll find that there's the NYSERDA Solar Guidebook and the Energy Storage Guidebook, which include the model laws that I referenced a little bit in our presentation. And next slide. Oh, and that also had the Climate Smart Communities guidebook there too. And it's listed here for underfunding and technical assistance. So some links for that. And if we could just go to the last slide. Oh no. Okay. There's a slide that shows a screenshot of the website where you can find the guidebook, but that's okay. So essentially, if you go to the NYSERDA website and you go to the search bar and you type in comprehensive plan, you'll find the Clean Energy in Your Comprehensive Plan guidebook, and it's available for download for free. And if you have any questions, I can drop the link to that in the chat as well. And I know we've got a few communities that are successful with their clean energy comprehensive planning tactics that are about to talk. So if you want to be like them, we can help you with that. So thank you very much. And I'll see you at the breakout room. That's it. That's the slide. Thank you. And I'm passing it off to Judy.
Thank you so much, Eva. And I'm reminded from the beginning presentations how lucky we are in New York to have such incredible resources available to us to get this done. So I'm from the City of White Plains. I'm Deputy Commissioner of Planning. We recently, as of June 2024, passed our comprehensive plan. A little bit about White Plains. We are a diverse city of about 60,000 people. We're the Westchester County seat. We're located just north of the New York City border. And we are a regional hub. So while we have 60,000 residents, we swell to about 200,000 people during the day. And there's been a lot of local development recently. So that's a little bit about who we are. And a huge shout out to our mayor, Mayor Roach. And if you want to know about how to get sustainability into your comprehensive plan, I would say start with a mayor who really believes in this, because he really believes in this. And as does our common council and our commissioner of planning, Christopher Gomez. So, and we were guided by a group of consultants from DFJ who are also amazing. So next slide, please. So when we started our comprehensive planning process, we started with a visioning period. It was actually 6 straight months of visioning where we did no planning at all. We really just invited the community to share with us their vision. We did a listening tour. We did an online survey, public meetings, Spanish language outreach, and youth involvement. And this is a collage of some of the different things that we did. And if we go to the next slide, there's more examples of it. So we took this ginormous whiteboard everywhere. We went to food distribution and sporting events. And this one that you see right now in front of you is at our high school, our public high school. And you can see that far and away, the #1 thing that the kids wanted was a Chick-fil-A. And we are getting a Chick-fil-A in our area, not in White Plains, but just over the border in Greenberg, not related to our comprehensive plan. But they also, the youth also were very focused on sustainability efforts. You can see we have a member of our staff in his One White Plains. Our plan was called One White Plains because it really centered the idea that while we may have many different neighborhoods, a plan has to be responsive to all of White Plains. And we had a rock concert style t-shirts with the stops of the listening tour. We had information in Spanish, and we went to senior picnics to make sure that we heard from populations that don't always show up at our public meetings. So setting the vision was key, and I'll talk more about that in just a minute. We also, we put out information in Spanish and also in Haitian Creole, because that's another language that is spoken here in our community. The next slide shows a word cloud. We did an online survey. We received about over 1,000 responses all in all. And I've just highlighted the ones that were related to sustainability. And it was really, again, important to produce this in a visual format so that people really see that sustainability was a clear goal, that a clear vision, part of the community's vision. So next slide. As a result of the 6 to 8 months of visioning, we came up with a vision statement, and we were very intentional about making sure that the vision statement was said exactly what we wanted to say, because as we went through the rest of this iterative process, everything had to feed back to the vision statement. If it wasn't in the vision statement, it wasn't in the plan. If it wasn't the vision statement, it had to be represented in the plan. And again, I've just highlighted a couple of the words that speak to sustainability. And as a result of hearing so much about sustainability, when we created the 6 elements for the plan, one of the elements was green WP. So again, it's loud and clear in our vision statement because that's what we heard from the public. And then it became one of the 6 elements around which the entire plan was created, was organized. The next slide. And again, as I said, it was an iterative process. So once we put green WP in as an element and we had the vision statement, then we took it back out into the community and we said, what is sustainability? What does the green WP mean for you? And here are just a couple of pictures of one of our public outreach activities where we had different boards that the public could interact with. Next slide. So community involvement was key, youth involvement, different languages, senior involvement, making sure we get to people that didn't normally participate, but also being led by science was really important. And this to me was a real gift because there were so many questions that were raised that I did not know the answer to. And DFJ was our main consultant, and they brought in a sub-consultant named Rambo is an expert in sustainable development. And so we had a public meeting where people came out and everybody interacted with each of the different elements, including the green WP element. And that breakout part was led by our experts. So that was a really important part. People had a lot of questions, and some were really very reasonable and really needed to be considered very thoughtfully. And so it was great to have the experts involved with that. Next slide, please. We also had a volunteer committee, a comprehensive plan committee, and these were 11 volunteers that were selected by the mayor for their involvement. And each of the committee members chose an element of the plan that they wanted to champion. So they were the chapter champions for that element. They received the chapter in advance. They looked at it, read it over. We then had a meeting with them. And then when it went to the larger group for consideration, they led that meeting. So that was another way of sort of building in community buy-in for the sustainability element. Next slide. As a result of all of this, we came up with the section Green WP, and the goal was to respond to climate change and promote sustainability through the lens of both mitigation and adaptation. And there were 4 topics underneath that: natural resources, clean energy, decarbonization, and climate resilience. So this is where we got to after all of the community input. And next slide. So once the plan was done and adopted, we submitted it to climate smart communities. We did get 18 points. We had all 5 of the required elements. Well, you have to have that or you don't submit it. And we had all of the point-based elements except for promoting the development of or conservation of local food systems. We did not address that in our plan. We knew we hadn't addressed it, so we knew we weren't going to get the full 21 points, but we did get 18 points, and we did get certified silver as a climate smart community. At this point, I cannot believe I made it this long in the presentation without giving an enormous shout out to Eleanor Peck, who really was like another member of our staff in helping us through this, and she was an incredible cheerleader, so thank you so much. Next slide. One of the presenters said before, I think it was Liz, said about the plan that has an implementation piece to it. We have an implementation piece to ours too, so we track. These are just some examples of some of the initiatives we wrote in and the current status. And so we just recently presented, for instance, to our sustainability committee and presented them with the status. So next slide. This is the status of where we are with some of the clean energy activities. Next slide. This is where we are with decarbonization. And this slide gives me an opportunity to give an enormous shout out to Mary Lambert, who facilitated the Climate Action Plan Institute that we participated in. We could never, ever, ever have done, never, ever, ever, did I say that already? Have done our Climate Action Plan without Mary and the support of the CAP. So I wanted just to end my presentation with one more slide, which, sorry, one more slide. I lied. Okay, so we are really pleased to announce that the Westchester Municipal Planning Federation is recognizing our work for the One White Plains Comprehensive Plan, where the plan is receiving an award this year, a Planning Achievement Award, and we're really pleased about that. And again, I guess I would say lean in and get all the support that you need from Eleanor and HVRC and NYSERDA. There are a lot of resources out there to be helpful. And now I am supposed to pass this off to, now I cannot remember, but Town of Dryden. There you go. I love Dryden. I went to school up near Dryden. Thank you so much.
I think you're on mute.
Thank you. Hi again, and thank you for inviting me to come here to talk about the Town of Dryden's journey in incorporating a climate action plan into a comprehensive plan update. I am the Dryden Climate Smart Task Force Chair, and I did serve on the planning board during the 3 or so years that we worked on updating our comprehensive plan. Next slide, please. I like to start with an overview of what we're going to do. I want to give you a profile of Dryden and talk about our goals, leadership, how we got the CAP in there, elements of our outreach campaign, community youth and engagement techniques that we used, and challenges and learnings. So for those of you who are not familiar with Dryden, we are a municipality. The town of Dryden is a municipality right in between Syracuse and Binghamton, and now we're north and south of those 2 municipalities and right next to the city of Ithaca. Cornell University has a strong influence on our town on the east side, on the west side rather, and we have some beautiful agricultural land on the east side of our town. So a wide range of residents in our town. We are a Southern Tier top 3 clean energy community, and we have been twice certified as bronze, and we are waiting now for the results of our silver certification application, which we handed in this round. And having an integrated cap in our comprehensive plan update has helped us, we think, have the points needed for silver certification for the town of Dryden. Next slide, please. So we started looking at our comprehensive plan in about 2018. Our last plan had been written in 2005, and so it was pretty outdated, and it didn't address any of the things that you see on this list. There was nothing about climate change or sustainability in the old plan, and some of us tried to incorporate some ad hoc amendments to the 2005 plan in 2018. And that effort brought out voices in our town that have routinely opposed sustainability actions that our town has tried to take over time, including banning hydrofracking, which the town of Dryden was one of the 2 municipalities who banned hydrofracking back in 2014. We also had quite vociferous opposition to the 3 working community solar installations in our town, to updating our stretch code and other actions. So the town board decided, rather than doing a piecemeal update to our comp plan, we would do it holistically. And an RFP was created to look for a consultant who would help us oversee the creation of the comprehensive plan. And the items that you see here became elements of the request for proposals that went out to consultants. Next slide, please. The town board designated the planning board as the lead agency for this effort, and Environmental Design and Research Associates, EDR of Syracuse, was our selected helper, and they were with us every step of the way. EDR then selected Central New York Regional Planning and Development Board of Syracuse to create the climate action plan portion of our comp plan, and also help us integrate that cap into the comprehensive plan. So right after I speak, Amanda Mazzoni from the Central New York Regional Planning and Development Board will talk more about what went into creating that CAP from their point of view. Next slide, please. The Climate Smart Task Force included 3 members of the planning board. And as you can see, along with the elders, we also have 2 voting youth members on our Climate Smart Task Force. And youth turned out to be terrific advocates for us in making sure that our plan got well publicized and accepted. Next slide, please. The The time frame for the actual work on the plan began in 2019 when we hired EDR. In early 2020, we had in-person stakeholders meetings where selected leaders from the community were brought in to talk with our consultants and our steering committee from agriculture, business, education, and so on. And their dialogue with us began to help us create the vision for the entire development of the plan. And then the pandemic hit us. And so we went from being able to do in-person meetings in early 2020 to pretty much being online for most of the rest of 2020 and into 2021. So during 2020, we worked on a community survey, and we also developed that vision statement. You're hearing echoes of the previous presentation. Our process was similar. In 2021, we were working on actually writing the plan, integrating the CAP, and we continued outreach presentations about the process through that entire time. In the winter and spring of 2022, we had completed the plan and we were ready to bring it out to the public. There were 3 webinars with 3 different sections of the draft plan, and it was finally approved in July 2022. Next slide, please. We also took quite a bit of time to hammer out our vision statement, and you'll see in it many of the same words that you heard in the previous presentation. Since our planning board leadership team included the gamut of opinions in our community, we really had to hammer out and discuss whether we could even include the words sustainable and inclusive. In the town of Dryden, there's a strong urge to keep the rural character of the town and to support agriculture. So those had to be elements of our plan, as well as just improving the quality of life for current and future residents. Next slide, please. Incorporating the CAP. The town already had a municipal operations greenhouse gas emissions inventory that was created by Cornell Cooperative Extension Tompkins in 2019 in collaboration with the Climate Smart Task Force. And that was wonderful to have already in place. We were able to turn that over to CNY Regional Planning, and they conducted a town-wide municipal greenhouse gas emissions inventory. And these 2 inventories were the bases of goal setting for the CAP. Now, the CAP in our plan is an appendix, and it is also cross-referenced in the comprehensive plan. And there's an entire section in the plan. It's one of 6 sections in our comprehensive plan update. Next slide, please. Here's the comprehensive plan. I'll say CAP. Thank you for referencing it, Eleanor. Climate Action Plan. It's 41 pages. It's an addition to our 120-page comprehensive plan update. Next slide, please. Right in our comprehensive plan, section 6 refers to looking forward, energy and sustainability. Our consultants guided us to speak in our plan about the guiding principles that were operative in developing the recommendations in this section. And you'll see that the plan also addresses community concerns that came up as we did our outreach. I'm proud to say that it isn't one of those plans with wide, vague goals and no action steps. The plan shows goals, outcomes, and action steps for every single area, and has guided us in terms of things like reducing greenhouse gas emissions for municipal operations by further upgrading our buildings. Next slide, please. So what were the elements of the outreach program that we did? I mentioned the stakeholders meetings. One of the most important elements was the Dryden 2045 website. That's the name of the plan and the name of the website that was developed by our consultants at EDR. And this was a place where in real time we engaged the community, posting updates, newspaper and media announcements about various stages in the process. And it was a place where members of the community could give us input at each step of the way. It's also the place where we posted our community survey. We reached out to the community to fill out either an in-paper or online version of the community survey. And in a community of about 14,000, we got nearly 1,000 responses. So that felt like a good percentage of the community that got back to us in the form of the survey. While that was going on, we formed a speaker series of planning board members who were advocating and gathering information for the process. And they visited groups in person at first and then online after the lockdown. Next slide, please. The presentations that we presented did surface some opposition. You can see on the left a social media posting that challenges the value of the plan, the length of the plan, and presents some misinformation about what was included. People were told that their wood stoves would be taken away, that we would be making gas stoves illegal. There was a concerted effort to undermine the work that was being done to educate folks about the comprehensive plan on the part of the same group of vocal climate deniers and opponents. In fact, the presentation about the plan that was scheduled to talk about energy sustainability, one of 3 webinars when we had the draft plan, was so disrupted by opponents and a Zoom bomb that it needed to be rescheduled. So there was lively community dialogue about this plan. Plenty of pros and cons being weighed out in the public. The session that was Zoom bombed was rescheduled, and we got lots of good input from that. Next slide, please. So one of the things that we did to make sure that we were addressing community concerns that were surfacing was engage youth. We visited the high schools. We had a Zoom youth summit with students invited from sustainability clubs and leadership groups at the 2 high schools that serve our township. And from that work came a whole student information campaign with a wide variety of ways that they helped us get the word out. They did a slideshow presentation, an informational video. This is a screenshot from a teenager from our town talking about the importance of a climate action plan. They did social media posts, made posters for us, and they even conducted a library outreach event about comprehensive planning update. Next slide, please. Here are more aspects of our community outreach. We met with the trustees of both villages to explain to them what we planned for the climate action plan and the comp plan update. We made presentations to all of our town advisory boards. We did slideshows at community centers, at the Rotary Club. We did those webinar presentations of the draft plan, one of which was disrupted. There were 3. And then finally, when it was time to pass the plan, there were 2 public hearings at town board meetings. Next slide, please. And when the Dryden Comprehensive Plan finally was approved at the last meeting, there were only voices in support of the plan that were heard at the meeting. We felt that after 2.5 years of community outreach, we had we had engaged and educated the opposition to such an extent, or maybe we just wore them down. But there were no voices of dissent. And a year or so later, after our comprehensive plan was approved unanimously by our town board, the American Planning Association, New York State Upstate Chapter gave it the Comprehensive Planning Award of 2023. Next slide, please. So what did we learn from this whole process? Well, reaching out to the community early and often will be a theme. Listening to the opposition and keeping up the dialogue over a long period of time. Engaging local youth. Summarizing the goals and process in every presentation that we did. We found that even if after our plan had been published for months, folks were really not aware of what was in it, asked questions about things that weren't the intent of the plan at all. So we began summarizing and educating with every single presentation what we wanted to include. One thing that we've learned since we passed the plan is that zoning needs realignment to the plan. So in the town of Dryden, we're working on that right now. And we do use these plans for constant reference. Next slide, please. Finally, I just wanted to show a picture of two of the young people who wrote a letter that was read on the night that the comprehensive plan was adopted, and who worked really hard to get the word out on our behalf. And these young people received the Youth Recognition Award in 2023 from the New York State Association of Conservation Commissions. So thank you. I'll pass it to the next person.
Hello, everyone. I'm Amanda Mazzoni, Energy Program Manager at the Central New York Regional Planning and Development Board. I'm just going to follow up especially Alice's presentation with a few specifics about our role in incorporating climate action planning into comprehensive planning. So it's kind of a twofer in the sense of the Climate Smart Communities certification program, in that they are separate actions in the program, but they really do complement each other, and the planning effort and outreach effort obviously works well hand in hand, as Alice was just describing. So next slide, please. Just very quickly, I wanted to just make sure that folks who are on the webinar outside of the Hudson, or inside and outside of the Hudson Valley region, recognize that, we are a similar organization to the Hudson Valley Regional Council, but we serve the 5 central New York counties, Cayuga, Cortland, Madison, Onondaga, and Oswego, in a very similar way. And there are regional planning agencies that cover every region of the state. So if you're on this webinar from another region, there's an equivalent regional planning organization in your area as well. And I'm sure you can reach out and we can connect you with them if you're not familiar. But I always like to just kind of give that plug just in case folks are not as aware as others. So we do have a very robust energy management program that has over the years helped communities with the programs that we're talking about here today: clean energy communities, climate smart communities, and kind of having the two work together, in addition to several other program areas and support. And I know that the other regional planning agencies work similarly. Next slide, please. Like I said, we have a fairly robust staff. We have a couple of people working on the Clean Energy Communities program, on the Climate Smart Communities program, as well as the NYSERDA Clean Energy Hub. Again, just wanted to kind of highlight that this is another resource in your areas, if you're not aware, that there are staff kind of across the state to support with planning and project implementation at every level, at the municipal level, at the residential level, and the commercial level. So just kind of, again, putting out there as just a quick nod to the resources available before I go into the meat of the presentation. So next slide, please. Okay, so diving right in, I'm gonna follow up, like I said, to Alice's presentation about the town of Dryden, and also kind of compare and contrast and provide some lessons learned with a second community that we worked on a similar process with, the town of Manlius. So in both cases, we were working as the consultant to compile the climate action plans, and worked in coordination with a separate comprehensive planning consultant. So as Alice mentioned with Dryden, it was a partnership with EDR. And in this case, we knew from the beginning of the process that the town wanted to incorporate the climate action plan into the comprehensive plan. When the town went out to bid for a consultant for this work, it was very clear. And so EDR had reached out to us at that point, from the beginning, to see if we would be willing to work with them on this effort. And so it was great to know from the beginning of the process that we would be working together. And so we were really able to communicate along the way with EDR, and kind of have these parallel tracks that intersected at various times, to make sure that we were able to cross-reference each of the goals into the separate planning sections. And so as Alice showed before, there were climate action plans directly incorporated into the comprehensive plan. Yet the climate action plan was its own separate appendix to the comprehensive planning document. So it worked really well having that coordination along the way with EDR, and being able to attend the meetings that they were hosting for the comprehensive planning sections that may have some overlap with the climate action plan. For example, if they knew they were going to be discussing like transportation issues, or anything related to energy or sustainability, we would attend the meetings with them and gather information, while we still had a separate climate action planning committee and had separate meetings with that committee to work through the climate action plan. So that was a really great relationship. It did start, as Alice mentioned, with the basis of any climate action plan, which is the greenhouse gas inventory. So in this case, we did already have a municipal greenhouse gas inventory for municipal operations that Cornell Cooperative Extension had put together. And we put together a similar community-wide greenhouse gas inventory for the town to be the partner to the municipal operations. So we were able to put together a climate action plan related to both the municipal emissions and the community-wide emissions as part of this effort. And so in the case of the town of Manlius, there were some differences. They had started work with their consultant, Barton and LaJudas, about a year prior to engaging us in the effort. So they had, started the comprehensive planning effort much in advance of realizing that they wanted to incorporate the climate action plan into their comprehensive plan. So at the point where that realization was kind of made, they reached out to us. We worked with them similarly on making sure their greenhouse gas inventories were complete as the first step. And then we were able to help them to receive funding through the Climate Smart Communities Grant Program to compile a climate action plan, as well as to build out a portion of their comprehensive plan, those sustainability elements, so that they could work towards their certification as a bronze climate smart community. So it was a little bit more challenging since they had already had a year working with their consultant on the comprehensive plan. So we had to kind of backtrack a little bit and, gather or go through their information that they had already gathered. So we hopefully weren't duplicating efforts too much. And once we did kind of pick up and get up to speed, we were able to work with them very well in a similar way. And, you know, where they had open houses, we would attend and vice versa, to kind of be able to cross-pollinate the ideas and get them within both plans. Next slide, please. So again, in both cases, it was very important to have, as a first step, the greenhouse gas inventory as the baseline for the climate action plans, because of course, if you don't know what your emissions information looks like, you are going to have a hard time planning to reduce those emissions in a climate action plan. And so that was always the first step in each of the processes. And then, of course, we collaborated with the comprehensive planning consultants to make sure that the actions were consistent between plans and integrating things that we were hearing on the climate action planning committee side of things with what the comprehensive planning committee and their consultant were hearing. So in the case of the town of Manlius, we actually, their comprehensive planning consultant put together a crosswalk. You can see here the actions crosswalk that had the action in the comprehensive plan and how it corresponded to an action in the climate action plan. There was maybe a little bit of difference in the wording just because of the nature of coming in a year late to the process. But they are, you know, there was a lot of consistency across the goals and the actions that were put into each plan. I'll also just note it's not shown on here, but there were separate columns to this table here that showed how the actions were related to climate smart certification actions and funding opportunities. So it's really going to be a great reference for, or has been a great reference for the town across multiple areas, and is something that I would kind of recommend people consider if they are going this path forward in their community's planning. In both cases, the climate action plan was adopted as a separate appendix to the comprehensive plan, but again, it was kind of woven within the comprehensive plan in various places where it made sense with the comprehensive planning categories and sections of the plan. And next slide, please. Just a couple of key takeaways. Again, the greenhouse gas inventory, if you are thinking about doing either or both of these planning efforts in the near future, just, you know, as a first step, you could get started now, you know, with your local climate smart community coordinators, putting together greenhouse gas inventories, and, you know, integrating the climate action plan into the comprehensive plan definitely is an easier task to do if you know from the beginning. So if you are starting to think about a comprehensive plan or an update for your community, also think about a climate action plan or an update to that if you already have one. It was really great to work in these communities on both efforts simultaneously and be able to incorporate a lot of similar goals and use similar resources to complete the two plans in a single time frame and effort. And then the communication, I think a few folks have already mentioned this, but especially in the case where you may have several groups or even staff within the same group working on multiple plans, it's important to have the communication flowing between those entities working on the actual writing of the plans, but of course with the community groups that are involved in the planning and then the wider community to get that important feedback and input for your planning processes as well. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to the next speaker. Thank you.
Oh, hi. I'm Marcy Denker. I'm the Sustainability Coordinator for the Village of Nyack. And this has been really a great opportunity for me to learn about what we can do next. Our comprehensive plan was adopted in 2016. And but the County of Rockland is about to start their process of doing a comprehensive plan. And I think that I've just learned so much today about what they, you know, I can watch out to make sure that they try to do. our project was funded by a grant from a program that used to exist called the Cleaner, Greener Communities Program that was a NYSERDA program. So it was a sustainability update, and it was prepared by BFJ Planning. Next slide. So a little quick background about Nyack. So we're a village on the Hudson River, about a half an hour north of New York City. It's a very dense little village that's it's pretty. It attracts tourists. It has a lot of restaurants, but it's also a designated disadvantaged community. We have, we've always had a diverse population. We have some clusters of low and moderate income, low-rise buildings, sort of sprinkled around the village. And we're about a square mile in area. Next slide. So our story is a little different from what you've been hearing about other communities. We had our previous plan was adopted in 2007, and there were people who are still here as part of, we have a fairly close-knit community, people working on an update to the code and outlining some new visions. And the way that they outlined the vision in the comprehensive plan at the time was, the sort of gateway area and the downtown and the waterfront. And that was, something that was brought forward and described in the new plan. But the impetus for the plan at the time was, well, I just wanted to sort of stop and say, like, how I got involved in this, because at the end of 2013, I suggested to the village that they become a climate smart community. I had just done, for the first time, doing any sort of involvement in civic life, did a little project for organizing a green infrastructure planning project, and it went well. And I thought, oh, I kind of like doing this, and I think this program will be good for Nyack. And the mayor, said that I could be the coordinator for free, but I said that I wanted a desk in Village Hall so that they would take it seriously. So there was this period where the village was starting to think along, what is sustainability? There were pieces in place before I got there, but the Climate Smart Communities program really helped because I just followed the directions. And so fairly soon after I got started, I got a very small grant to just pay me to do a 2-year sustainability action plan. It was kind of like the plan for doing a comprehensive plan as a next step. And so I was learning along the way. Everybody was learning. And during the same period of time, certain things were starting to come together in our conversations about, what people were trying to achieve. And we were trying to make connections between the waterfront and the downtown, this gateway area where people were talking, the mayor at the time was talking to people about, like, how do you turn, get transportation oriented development. We wanted to take a new look at an option for the ferry. There had been an old study of a ferry from our marina. And so somebody advised us that we should be like trying to do this through the comprehensive plan. So that's kind of, the background for it at the time. And I have to say that at that time, I was didn't really have much of a committee, and I was just learning. So, and I remember how difficult it was to actually just get people to pay attention, just not just in our community, because we have a progressive community and there wasn't any kind of real conflict about talking about climate change. It was just that people weren't really paying attention in the same way. I'm sure you all are aware, 10 years ago, it was just different. Next slide. So we had this little green infrastructure plan, this little sustainability plan, but the sustainable action plan was part of the grant application. It was part of the reason that we looked like we were ready to do this kind of update in the comp plan. But I was saying, we're going to do the climate action plan next. Well, as it turned out, for various reasons, including COVID, the CAP didn't happen until 2023. So we have a comprehensive plan that refers to this next step of doing a CAP that really didn't happen for years after that. So it's not that we don't have anything in our comprehensive plan about climate but it's very different from the kinds of plans that you've just been hearing about. We did, an outgrowth of that was fairly immediate was that the BFJ did our local, there was a look at the waterfront, and then we did our local waterfront revitalization program plan. Next slide. So now we have a climate action plan that we didn't hire a consultant. I mean, I was the consultant. I'm the Climate Smart Communities committee chair. I have a co-chair now, and we got a grant from the Climate Smart Communities program, and I did coordinated the project to do the climate action plan. And I'm currently working on an adaptation plan. And so once we have those things, when we have an update to the comprehensive plan, then we'll be following all the great advice from people here about bringing that into the next comprehensive plan. Pardon the typo there. So next slide. So that, in the vision, the little highlighted part down there has this general kind of reference to climate change and resilience and things like that. I have to say that thinking about the comprehensive plan afterwards, I realized that I didn't really bring a lot to the process, and I didn't bring the kind of sort of force to bringing, more explicit. I didn't really know what to do at that point because I was, this has all been a learning process for me. But it's, this is the kind of, sort of more vague language that would be in there. But it's also been serviceable because there's a core people who've been there all along who would be supportive, and then, pushing over the years to take advantage of the guidance in climate smart and clean energy communities, and then building that awareness and support. We've done pretty well using the comprehensive plan that we have and these other plans. Next slide. So this is, just more kind of the language that's in there that kind of points to the kinds of things that you should do as a sustainable community. Next slide. Oh, but it does, it specifically talks about the kinds of things that you would do for, emissions reductions. And again, it points to, it just says Nyack's about to do a climate action plan. And so it just kind of pushes off the actual work that would be in there about that. Next slide. And this is, we got included that in our two versions of, our bronze certification applications. And then, we just applied, well, this was the one, I don't even know what it looks like now, if it's changed. We just did our silver application, but we got a lot of points for the comprehensive plan as it was. Next slide. This is just an example of how there was language in here in the comp plan in the section on air pollution that specifically talked about some of the strategies for reducing energy use. So it just, sort of, you can see the contrast. It's a short paragraph that sort of bundles it all in there, but doesn't break it out and create a lot of clarity about what would need to be done. Next slide. And here's just an example. I was looking through this section on the solid waste. And, it's been a while. Back then, there, food waste wasn't such a big thing in everybody's awareness of the way it is today. But it's just one more example of how what we learned in doing the climate action plan could, in the future, inform the next plan. We did have a process just like others, but, it seemed like it went by pretty quickly with a few workshops, small setting and large setting, and then a survey. So there was a lot of learning, and I've been in meetings where applications are out in front of the planning board and so forth, and people do, it's not a plan that's on the shelf. This is a very, it's a well-used plan, and it's very serviceable, just as it is. Next slide. And this, I just was noticing also when I was doing the application recently for our next certification is that a lot of the things that are in some of the other, is particularly the smart growth action in climate smart communities, we found in the comprehensive plan. So it's kind of sprinkled around the things that you do, these land use things in particular that are end up being in your comprehensive plan. Next. So this is I just I think that what I've been thinking about lately is how important it is to use the comprehensive plan process as a way of not just gathering input, but educating why you're gathering input, because some of the things that you think about, especially in decarbonization, are pretty complicated and people aren't used to thinking about them. So I just went to a meeting the other night of a group. It was the first meeting for, we got a grant for, it's called New York Forward. It's a downtown revitalization grant. And so a lot of, I noticed that the coordinator from the state mentioned that NYSERDA, one of the components of this evaluation of these different projects for this, it is decarbonization. But a lot of the people on the committee that's been selected for this are really focused on economic development. And I think that it's really important for people who are like me in the community who really want to see opportunities for decarbonization fleshed out more, to make sure that we bring that to the table while people are talking about these other things, because it's all part of the same picture, but some of these things get lost. So if it were already in laid out and mapped out more in a comprehensive plan, that would be good, but we don't have that. So every time there's an opportunity like that where you get people at the table, it would be really good to bring that out. So that I guess I'm just thinking that it's so important when you have that comprehensive plan incorporating that kind of clarity and mapping about the climate action goals. Then when you have these opportunities, you can just sort of put that forward. So yeah, that we have a plan that works, but I think that the next time around, people will have really great resources to turn to from these examples from other communities. So thank you.
All right. Thank you so much to all our presenters. It was really, really great to hear from all of you. Since we are running short on time, we're going to limit the time we have for discussion and Q&A to 10 minutes. Since we are a large group today, we'll be moving into breakout rooms to facilitate better discussion. And each breakout room will be headed by one or more of our panelists. You can see over here that in room 1, it'll be Judy and Eva. Room 2 will have Alice and Amanda. And then room 3 will have Marcy. We will shortly open up the breakout rooms, and then you will have the opportunity to choose the breakout room that you want to go to whichever speaker you have questions for or you want to know more about. Please feel free to go to that breakout room. You also have the option to switch between breakout rooms if you want to hop on to more than one. We'll have one person in the main room. That's our colleague, Ryan Corbett. He will be in the main room and he'll help you guide, if you want to move around to different breakout rooms. So, Liz, I think we can open up the breakout rooms. Yeah?
Okay, so all the rooms are now open. Again, if you have any trouble getting into a room, so you should be able to see the option pop up on your screen, or it should be down in that bar at the bottom of your Zoom. But if not, please let us know.
In the lobby needs
Yeah.
any questions answered on which room is which, please feel free to ask.
All right. Do we have everyone back in the main room? Yeah. Maybe give it a few more seconds. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time. I know we went a little bit over time, but we really appreciate you staying along for the entirety of the webinar. Thank you so much to all of our presenters. Really appreciate you taking your time to be here today and sharing your experiences and your knowledge with us. Just a couple of housekeeping things. If you wish to receive credit for participating in the webinar, please email Eleanor, Liz, or me. Our email addresses are on the slide deck, which will be shared in the HVRC website in a few days, but you can also find it in the HVRC website. And the recording of the webinar will also be made available on the HVRC YouTube channel in a few days as well. So stay tuned for that and share it to anyone who might have missed the webinar. Thank you so much for joining once again, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.